And so the universe folded to hear our final song. The sky above the last city of Earth was not blue. It was a swirl of golden light and deep violet shadows, as if the universe itself had spilled its paint across the heavens. On the surface, the wind carried a strange hum, almost musical, though no instruments played. It was the planet's own final voice, whispering of endings and farewells. Amara stood at the edge of the cliff overlooking the ocean of molten glass below. Her hair caught the light of a dying sun, flickering like fire. She had walked alone for hours, carrying only a small satchel with what little mattered to her. Around her, the city's ruins stretched endlessly, buildings half buried in sand, towers like broken teeth rising from the ground. But Amara did not look at the destruction. She looked outward, toward the horizon where the stars seemed close enough to touch. "They are waiting," a voice said behind her. She turned slowly. It was Leor, her companion since the last exodus. His face was tired, etched with the kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying too many worlds in your mind. Yet there was a spark in his eyes, a stubborn glimmer of hope that refused to die. "Waiting for what?" she asked, though she already knew. "The song," he said. "The one we promised to sing when all of this ends." Amara's lips twitched into the smallest of smiles. That song was more than music. It was a covenant, a message for the universe itself. They had traveled through time and space to reach this moment, carrying the memories of civilizations long gone, the dreams of countless beings, and the knowledge that the universe would listen, if only for a heartbeat. She nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Then we sing," she whispered, stepping toward the edge. Leor followed. Together, they raised their voices. At first, it was a low hum, blending with the wind. Slowly, the melody grew, weaving in patterns that mirrored the stars above. It was a song of sorrow, of love, of endings and beginnings. Each note carried the weight of history, the joy of discovery, and the pain of loss. And somewhere, far beyond the reaches of their eyes, the universe paused. Galaxies shimmered as if listening. Nebulae pulsed with curiosity. Time itself seemed to fold, bending closer to hear the song of two small beings standing on the edge of oblivion. "This is it," Leor said, his voice trembling. "This is what they waited for." Amara closed her eyes, letting the sound flow through her. She felt the presence of everything she had ever known, and even more, she felt the consciousness of the universe, patient and eternal, leaning in to hear them. In that moment, they were not small, not fragile, not human. They were a bridge between the cosmos and its own forgotten heart. They were the last echo of everything that had lived, and their song carried a promise, that even in endings, there is meaning. The sky above shifted. Stars converged into new shapes, galaxies twisting like ribbons in a silent dance. Amara and Leor sang louder, voices mingling with the hum of creation. The air around them shimmered, and for the briefest instant, it felt as if the universe itself had leaned forward, folding into itself just to catch the notes of their final song. And somewhere, beyond comprehension, the cosmos sighed. The song continued, spreading across the ruins like a tide of light. Amara opened her eyes and saw that the clouds above were no longer ordinary. They shimmered with colors she had never seen, as if every particle of the atmosphere had become a prism. The wind carried the sound outward, but it did not fade. It multiplied, echoing across mountains, deserts, and oceans, across empty cities and forgotten forests. Leor's hands trembled as he reached for hers. "Do you feel it?" he asked. "The way it answers us." Amara nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "It's alive. Alive." The word echoed in her mind, not just as a thought but as a sensation. The universe was alive. It had always been alive, but only now, in their final act, did it reveal itself in this form, a sentient listener that bent to hear what it had long ignored. They walked down from the cliff toward the city, each step sending ripples of sound across the molten glass below. The ruins themselves seemed to react, vibrating softly as if acknowledging the music. Broken buildings leaned closer, shadows reaching, eager to participate in the final performance. As they moved, memories flickered around them, visions of civilizations long past. Cities of gold and crystal, fields of flowers that sang when the wind passed through, oceans filled with creatures that glowed like lanterns in the dark. Amara felt them all, the laughter, the pain, the dreams of countless beings. Each memory became a note, a harmony in the song. Leor paused near what had once been a grand hall. Its roof had collapsed, but inside, the echo of their song transformed it into something sacred. Every sound we make, every note, carries a story, he said softly. It's not just our song. It's everyone's. Amara placed her hand on the cracked floor, feeling the vibrations. Then we are not ending alone, she whispered. We are carrying them with us. For hours, they sang, moving through the city like shadows of light. They sang for the mountains that had watched civilizations rise and fall. They sang for the rivers that had carved valleys with patient care. They sang for the stars, for the planets, for the infinite spaces in between. And the universe listened. Stars shimmered in patterns that mirrored their melody. Black holes pulsed like slow drums. Comets traced arcs across the sky, leaving trails of silver that matched the rising crescendos. Time itself seemed to slow, each second stretching, bending, folding to the rhythm of the song. At one point, Amara paused and looked at Leo. Do you think they understand us? She asked. Leo smiled faintly, though his eyes were wet. They don't need to. They feel us. That is enough. A sudden vibration ran through the ground, gentle but insistent. Amara knelt, pressing her hand to the earth. The song responded in kind, resonating deep within her bones. It was as if the planet itself were harmonizing, adding its own voice to theirs. They had begun alone, two voices against the void, but now, the universe sang with them. It was no longer about endings, it was about connection, about a final act that transcended life and death. Amara realized, then, that their song would not die. Even if they disappeared, even if the world vanished, the melody would linger in the folds of time and space. Somewhere, someone, or something, would hear it. And in that moment, nothing would ever be truly lost. The city around them shimmered. The ruins, the molten glass, even the shadows seemed alive with music. Amara felt her heart expand with a strange joy. Despite the desolation, despite the endings, they had created something eternal. And as night fell, the first stars of the new cosmic cycle began to appear, twinkling in perfect sync with their song, as if the universe itself were beginning to dance. By the time dawn arrived, it was no longer dawn as anyone had known it. The light that spilled over the horizon was a mix of violet and silver, bending in ways that made the world appear both familiar and alien. Amara and Leo had moved far from the city, following the path of the song, which now seemed to carry them as much as they carried it. Do you think it's guiding us? Amara asked, eyes wide as a glowing river of energy snaked through the valley below. Leo nodded. Not guiding, welcoming us. They followed the river of light, which pulsed and shifted in rhythm with their melody. Each step brought new visions. Forests where trees sang in harmonies of green and gold, deserts whose sand sparkled with the memory of extinct stars, oceans that reflected not the sky above but infinite possibilities beyond it. Amara reached out and touched the river. It flowed through her fingers like liquid light, cold yet full of warmth. Images surged in her mind. Entire galaxies forming and dissolving, civilizations rising in a heartbeat, songs of creatures whose existence she could barely comprehend. She gasped, pulling her hand back. They remember us, Leo said softly. Not as individuals, but as a song. We've become part of the memory of everything that has ever been. Amara swallowed hard. The weight of it pressed on her, not as fear, but as awe. So, when we finish, will we fade? Leo shook his head. No. We don't fade. We fold into it. Become one with the music of the universe. And maybe the universe will carry us forward, like we carried it in our voices tonight. They walked in silence, letting the melody shape the world around them. And then they reached a plateau, hovering above an expanse of nothingness so deep it seemed to have no end. Stars swirled far below, not in the sky, but beneath them, as if the universe had inverted itself just to make them see. This is the place, Leo said, voice trembling. The heart of it all. If we sing here, it will reach everywhere. Amara's chest tightened. The enormity of it made her dizzy, but she understood. This was not just a song, it was a bridge. A connection between what had been, what was, and what could be. Together, they raised their voices again. But this time, it was not sorrowful, not mournful. It was a song of creation itself. Each note formed patterns in the void, twisting and folding space around them. Colors unseen by any eye danced in response. Time spiraled outward, stretching across dimensions. Amara felt herself becoming both smaller and larger at once. Her body seemed to dissolve into the melody, yet her consciousness expanded to touch distant stars, alien worlds, unborn sons. She could feel the laughter of beings that had never existed, the music of life that might yet be. Leo joined her fully, his voice blending seamlessly. "Can you feel it?" he asked, or heavy in his tone. "The universe is responding." Amara nodded, tears streaming down her face. She had never known joy like this. To sing and know that every note mattered, that every vibration was felt, that existence itself leaned in to hear them, this was a miracle beyond understanding. And then, from the depths of the void, something answered. Not with words, not with a sound, but with a ripple of understanding. The stars pulsed in sequence, black holes thrummed, and distant nebulae shimmered as if acknowledging their presence. It was a language older than time, a language that could only be felt. Amara whispered, almost to herself, "We are heard." Leo squeezed her hand. "Not just heard," he said. "Remembered." And as they sang, the universe began to fold in ways they could never have imagined. Space bent around them, not to trap, but to listen. The void became a vessel for their song, carrying it to places no being could ever reach. They were no longer alone. They were everywhere, and everywhere was with them. The plateau trembled beneath Amara and Leo as their song reached higher and higher, weaving threads of sound and light into a tapestry that stretched across existence itself. Time folded upon itself again and again, creating echoes of past and future that shimmered like fragile glass. The universe was no longer merely listening, it was participating. Amara lifted her face toward the swirling expanse below. "It's alive," she whispered, voice trembling. "Every star, every shadow, it's responding to us. Leo, we're not just singing, we're shaping it." Leo nodded, his eyes wide with awe. "This is what it wanted all along. We were never meant to end quietly. We were meant to sing, and in singing, awaken something older than ourselves." And the universe answered. A wave of energy surged around them, gentle yet insistent. Galaxies spiraled, forming patterns that mirrored their song. Comets moved like dancers in synchrony, and black holes pulsed in rhythm with the melodies. It was as if all matter, energy, and time were bending, folding themselves around their music. Amara reached out instinctively. The vibrations ran through her fingers, up her arms, into her chest, until it felt as if her very soul was humming. She saw flashes of life, worlds that had existed only for moments, civilizations that had been extinguished before they could grow, songs that had never been sung. Every one of them now joined their own, resonating in perfect harmony. "They are joining us," Amara said softly, tears streaming down her face. "All of them, everything we've ever loved, everything we've ever known." Leo took her hand. "We're not just the last singers," he said. "We are the first witnesses of a new truth. Life doesn't end. It folds into itself, into memory, into song." They sang louder, their voices no longer human in the conventional sense, but extensions of the universe itself. Every note carried meaning, every harmony shaped existence. And as they sang, a vision unfolded before them. A vast cathedral of light and shadow, suspended between galaxies, its spires made of pure energy and memory. It was a place of endings and beginnings, a place where all songs of the universe converged. "That's where we're meant to go," Amara breathed. "That's where our song becomes eternal." The energy beneath them pulsed again, lifting them upward. The plateau dissolved into light, and they found themselves moving toward the cathedral. They floated through corridors of luminous sound, each step leaving ripples of melody behind. They saw echoes of themselves singing, echoes of worlds singing, echoes of stars themselves joining the chorus. And then, in the center of it all, they understood. This cathedral was not a place, they were not traveling to it in space. It existed in the folds of the universe itself, created by the song, sustained by the memories and emotions of every being that had ever lived or would ever live. It was the universe's own way of folding to hear their final song. Amara turned to Leo, breathless. "Do you realize what this means?" Leo's eyes sparkled. "We are part of it. Not just observers. We are the first note in a symphony that will last forever. Our song will ripple across eternity." Together, they sang again. This time, their voices did not merely echo, they expanded, weaving through dimensions, carrying fragments of time, matter, and consciousness. Every star became a string in their melody, every black hole a drumbeat, every nebula a chorus of color. And in the deepest part of that cathedral, Amara felt it, the universe folding in closer, listening, understanding, cherishing. It was not a passive act. It was alive, aware, and it was holding them in a moment that would stretch across infinity. "We've done it," Amara whispered, voice breaking. "We've reached the heart of everything." Lior smiled, and for the first time, he let himself fully feel the wonder of it. "And it's beautiful," he said. "Because we're singing it together." The light around them intensified, bathing them in colors that had no names. They were no longer merely human. They were sound and thought, memory and dream, the song and the singer intertwined. The universe leaned closer, folding itself like paper to catch every note, every whisper, every heartbeat of their final creation. And so, for the first time in all of existence, the universe paused, held in a single, eternal chord, the chord of two voices that refused to end quietly, that carried the weight of everything, that became the first echo of infinity. Time had begun to lose meaning. Minutes, hours, millennia, they all blended into the rhythm of the song. Amara and Lior floated in the cathedral of light, now fully aware that they were not merely singing. They were shaping reality itself. Every note they released carried new stars into existence, wove life into barren worlds, and whispered secrets into the ears of unborn civilizations. Amara's voice quivered with emotion. "It feels like creation," she said softly. "Not just music. We are making something that will last beyond us." Lior nodded, his eyes reflecting galaxies yet to be born. "This is what it means to fold the universe," he said. "To become part of it, and let it become part of you. We're not ending. We're beginning something eternal." The cathedral itself seemed to respond to their understanding. Corridors of light shifted, forming new pathways, revealing visions of distant planets, of beings in countless forms joining the harmony, of entire civilizations awakening to the memory of a song they had never heard before. The universe, it seemed, was remembering itself through their melody. Amara reached out and touched a column of radiant energy. It pulsed gently under her fingertips, and she could feel the echo of every life that had existed, every joy and sorrow, every whisper of hope and despair. "Lior," she said, voice breaking, "we're not just singing for ourselves. We're singing for all of them. The lost, the forgotten, the never-born. They will all exist in this song." Lior took her hand. "Yes," he said. "We've become the memory of everything, and everything will become part of us. That is the true power of the final song." As their melody rose to new heights, new forms began to manifest in the cathedral. Figures of light, ethereal, formless, yet unmistakably alive, danced around them. Each represented a different civilization, a different star, a different dream. They did not speak. They did not need to. Their movements, their resonance, their presence was communication enough. Amara's eyes filled with tears. "We are not alone," she whispered. "Not now, not ever." "No," Lior agreed. "We never were. And now, we're giving everyone a chance to exist again, even if only as memory, as song." The sound of their voices intertwined with the very structure of the cathedral. Light wove into color, color wove into sound, sound wove into thought. The universe itself seemed to pulse in time with them, a vast organism alive and aware. And somewhere deep inside, Amara could feel the heartbeat of creation itself, slow, steady, infinite. They sang until their voices blended seamlessly with the cosmic harmony. And in that unity, a new understanding dawned. The song was never theirs alone. It was the universe's voice, the echo of every being, and the promise of all that would ever be. Amara looked at Lior, seeing reflected in his eyes the same awe and love she felt. "Do you think we'll ever return?" she asked. Lior shook his head gently. "Return? Perhaps not in the way we know. But we'll be everywhere, in every note, in every star, in every heartbeat. This is our new existence." They held each other's hands and sang once more, letting the melody carry them further into the cathedral, into the folds of the universe itself. It was no longer a song of endings, it was a song of unity, of memory, of life transcending form. And as their voices resonated through infinity, a realization came over them both. Even if they ceased to exist as individuals, they would never truly disappear. They had become something larger, something eternal. Their final song would never be forgotten, for the universe itself had folded to hear it, and in that act, it had folded them into itself. And somewhere, in a space beyond understanding, the first note of a new symphony began, inspired by their song, Echoing endlessly into the future, the Cathedral of Light stretched endlessly in every direction, yet Amara and Leor felt no fear of its vastness. Instead, there was a profound sense of peace, as if the universe had finally found a place to rest, and they were part of that rest. Every note they sang resonated with all that had ever been and all that could ever be, folding the past and the future into a single, harmonious present. Amara raised her voice higher, letting it mingle with the hum of stars. She felt a presence moving through the cathedral, not threatening, not alien, but aware. Something vast and ancient, older than time itself, had arrived to witness them.
"Do you feel that?" she asked Leor. He nodded. "It's acknowledging us."
We've reached the point where the song itself is alive.
The cathedral shifted around them in response.
Walls of light twisted into spirals, corridors of sound opened into infinite chambers, and the ceiling, if it could be called that, folded into an endless horizon of glowing nebulae. The universe was speaking in its own way, and their song was the language it understood. Amara closed her eyes, letting the sensation wash over her. She saw flashes of the civilizations they had carried in memory. The forests of blue-leafed trees, oceans of liquid crystal, skies filled with creatures who had never existed in the corporeal world. All of them shimmered as part of the song now, alive in the folds of the universe.
"They're thriving," she whispered, awe in her voice.
"Not as they were, but as they should be." "Yes," Leor said, "because we have sung them into being again, not as individuals, but as part of the eternal melody." And then the realization struck them both. This was not the end of their journey. The song had reached its climax, but it also opened a doorway, a chance to shape existence in ways no being had ever imagined. They could carry life and memory across the void, fold realities into harmony, and let the universe itself pulse with the rhythm of consciousness.
Amara's hand touched Leor's.
"Do you think we can do it forever?" He smiled softly, the stars reflecting in his eyes.
"Perhaps. Forever is just another note in the song. And we have learned how to sing it."
They raised their voices once more, not in desperation, not in sorrow, but in joy. Each note carved new patterns into the cathedral, weaving the past, present, and future into a single luminous tapestry. They became one with the music, and the music became one with them. Somewhere, in the folds of that infinite creation, they could feel every heartbeat of the universe aligning with theirs. The stars shimmered like living eyes, distant galaxies pulsed like hearts, and even the void itself seemed to lean closer, eager to receive the melody. Amara whispered, "It's beautiful. Everything, all of it, is beautiful."
Leor nodded.
"And it will always be. Because it is remembered, because it is sung.
And because we have sung it."
For a long while, they simply floated in the cathedral, letting the music carry them, letting the universe fold around them.
Time no longer mattered. Space no longer mattered.
They were neither here nor there, neither past nor future. They were the song, and the song was them. And in that moment, as their voices intertwined with the heartbeat of creation itself, they understood the ultimate truth. Endings were never final. Every note, every memory, every act of love or sorrow could be carried forward, folded into eternity. And so, in the Cathedral of Light, Amara and Leor sang the final verses of their song, knowing it would echo forever, long after their forms had dissolved, long after the universe itself had shifted into new shapes. Their voices were the first and last echoes, the eternal melody, the promise that nothing is ever truly lost. The universe had folded to hear them, and in doing so, it had embraced all that they had been, all that they had loved, and all that they would ever be. Time had become a ripple, no longer a line, no longer a measure. Amara and Leor moved through the Cathedral of Light as though floating in the very essence of existence. Every sound they made caused stars to flare, galaxies to shift, and worlds yet unborn to tremble with life. Their song had become a current in the river of reality itself, carrying everything along its path. Amara reached out, letting her fingers brush a ribbon of luminous energy. It pulsed and shimmered in response, forming images, entire civilizations, from the tiniest creatures to the largest cities, all rising, singing, and existing in perfect harmony. They were not bound by time, nor by mortality. They were echoes, but living echoes, carried forward by the song.
"Look," she whispered to Leor.
"Everything, it's waking up."
He nodded, eyes wide. Not waking up. Remembering.
Our song has reminded them of their existence. Not as they were, but as they could be. The cathedral expanded endlessly around them. The walls of light became gateways to other dimensions. Amara could see entire universes vibrating to the same melody, parallel realities folding into one another, each enriched by the song. And in each fold, they saw beings, some humanoid, some beyond comprehension, feeling the resonance of what they had sung. Amara's voice rose, clear and unwavering. We carry them all now. Every memory, every joy, every sorrow. Nothing is lost. Leo joined her, and together, they wove the melody tighter, folding it into spirals of sound and light. The universe itself seemed to pulse with delight, as if acknowledging their work. Nebulae shimmered in new colors, black holes throbbed like massive drums, and comets traced arcs that mirrored the notes of their song. This is what it means to sing eternally, Leo said, voice filled with awe. We are no longer just witnesses. We are keepers. We are the song. Amara smiled, tears of joy streaming down her face. And everything we've loved, everything we've lost, it's still here, in us. In the song. Far beyond their sight, across infinite dimensions, the first echoes of their melody began to influence new realities. Worlds began to form with harmony as their blueprint. Stars birthed themselves in perfect rhythm. Life arose in balance, guided not by chaos or chance, but by the memory of their song. The universe had not only listened, it had learned. It had folded itself to carry the legacy of two voices, two hearts, and a single melody that had refused to end quietly. Amara turned to Leo. Do you think anyone will ever understand what we've done? He shook his head softly. Understanding doesn't matter. Feeling does. And they will feel it. All of them. Every being. In every place. In every time. Our song will carry the memory of life itself. A sudden wave of brilliance washed over them. The cathedral of light pulsed in synchronization with their voices, folding in upon itself, expanding, folding again. It was the culmination of every note, every emotion, every intention they had ever sung. And in that wave, Amara felt something extraordinary, the essence of the universe itself smiling, acknowledging, and embracing them. Amara and Leo clasped hands and sang louder, not in defiance, not in sorrow, but in pure affirmation of existence. The melody wrapped around them, and in its warmth, they understood that endings were illusions. Death was a concept of form, not of essence. Life, memory, and love continued in the folds of the universe, carried by the song of those brave enough to give it voice. And as the cathedral's infinite light shimmered with the music of all existence, Amara whispered, "We are home." Leo smiled, a single tear reflecting the birth of 1,000 stars. Yes, we always were. The Cathedral of Light had become a symphony of existence. Amara and Leo moved through corridors of stars, each step resonating like the heartbeat of galaxies. Their song no longer belonged only to them. It belonged to everything. Every life, every memory, every possibility flowed through them, amplified and eternal. Amara lifted her eyes to the vast expanse around them. Do you see it, Leo? She asked. All of this, it's alive with what we've sung. Leo nodded, his gaze following ribbons of light that stretched across space. It's not just alive. It's remembering itself. We've become part of its memory. They paused in a chamber of shimmering infinity, where every color imaginable danced in perfect harmony. Amara placed a hand on the radiant surface before them, and a wave of realization washed over her. Each note they had sung, each thought, each emotion, had transformed the universe into a living archive. Every being that had ever lived, every dream that had been dreamt, every sorrow and joy, it all existed here, preserved in the folds of the final song. Leo, she whispered, we've done more than survive. We've given life a chance to continue beyond form, beyond time, beyond understanding. He smiled, tears glistening in his eyes. We've folded existence into itself, Amara. Everything we've ever known, everything we've ever loved, it will never be lost. A quiet calm settled over the cathedral, as if the universe itself was sighing in contentment. Stars pulsed softly, nebulae glowed with gentle warmth, and the echoes of their song spread outward, reaching into places untouched by time. It was not a song of endings, but a song of continuity, a promise that life and memory would persist, carried in the infinite folds of reality. Amara looked at Leo, a sense of peace filling her. Do you think anyone will hear us beyond this? Leo took her hand. It doesn't matter if they hear us as we do.
They will feel it. All existence will feel the song. And in that, we exist forever. We've become part of everything. Together, they sang one last note, long and resonant, letting it expand through the cathedral, through the cosmos, through every fold of the universe. The note carried not just sound, but love, hope, and remembrance. It was the culmination of all they had lived, all they had dreamed, all they had lost and found. And in that moment, they no longer existed as Amara and Leo in the old sense. They had become melody itself, consciousness entwined with the universe, voices folded into eternity. Somewhere far beyond comprehension, the universe paused to listen, folding in once more to catch every vibration. And in the stillness that followed, it carried the memory of them forward, into every star, every planet, every being yet to come. Amara felt the warmth of everything she had ever known, flowing through her, and realized this. Endings are only beginnings seen from another angle. Their final song had not ended. It had simply transformed, becoming a part of the eternal rhythm of existence. Leo's presence was beside her, though it was more than physical now. It was everywhere, woven into the melody. "We're home," he said, and the word resonated like a chord in the heart of the universe. Amara smiled, letting the infinite light of the cathedral wash over her. "Yes," she said softly. "We always were." And so, in the folds of the universe, the song continued. Not just their song, but the song of everything that had ever lived or ever would. It carried memory, love, and life across time and space. And somewhere, beyond the reaches of sight or thought, the universe held it close, folding itself eternally to hear the final song of two voices that became infinite. The end was not the end. It was only a note in the greatest symphony that existence had ever known, a symphony that would play forever.